What if everything ended and nobody noticed? The clocks still tick, the skies still turn, but underneath the surface everything has changed, and they made sure you wouldn't see it. But here you are, watching this. That alone means something. There are no accidents. You were not supposed to find this video. It slipped through the cracks on purpose. And now, what you're about to discover will change the way you see the world, and yourself, forever. They told us that when the end comes, it would be loud, that it would come with fire, chaos, destruction. But what if the end was quiet? What if the world didn't explode? It just slowly turned off, one light at a time. This is not fiction. This is not entertainment. This is a message buried beneath years of silence, forgotten truths, and voices that were erased. And you are one of the very few who will hear it. Imagine a man standing at the edge of the woods. Smoke clings to the air. The sun is gone. And in his hands he holds a truth too heavy for the world to carry. That man could be you. You felt it. That sense that something is wrong, but no one's talking about it. That life isn't what they said it would be. That time is slipping. People are forgetting. And you've been waiting for a sign that you're not crazy. This is that sign. Right now, you're standing at the doorway of something vast. This story is not about fear. It's not about conspiracy. It's about awakening. And once your eyes open, they cannot close again. We've gathered fragments of what was never meant to be found. Letters, testimonies, patterns, ruptures in reality. The pieces of a truth so powerful, it was hidden in plain sight. This video is not just content. It is evidence. It is a code. It is the reason your pulse just quickened. It is the reason your screen feels heavier right now. Because what's coming is not just a story. It is a confrontation. You will feel things. You may cry. You may remember. You may finally understand why nothing ever made sense. And by the end, you will be someone else entirely. But first, you have to stay. You have to listen. And if this moment stirs something in you, a memory, a feeling, a fire, then let it speak. Do not scroll. Do not look away. Do not pretend it's just another video. Because this right here is the beginning of the end. And the end of everything is the start of what you were truly meant to become. If you feel it, if even one line echoed through you, subscribe now. You were never meant to follow the noise. You were meant to find the signal. And now that you have, everything will change. You remember how things used to be, right? Waking up to the same sound, the same routine, coffee in the same cup, streets that always looked the same, people you thought you knew, days that felt like photocopies of the last, and somewhere deep inside, you told yourself that was normal. That repetition was comfort, that this was life. But what if I told you that wasn't life at all? That it was a carefully constructed illusion, a slow lullaby designed to keep your soul asleep? There was a time when families sat at dinner tables without their phones, when silence didn't feel awkward, when we looked each other in the eyes and actually saw something. But that time faded, quietly, not with a bang, but with a whisper. The lights stayed on. The wheels kept turning. But something important vanished. It didn't happen in a single moment. It crept in like fog, covering everything you thought was solid. You woke up one day and couldn't feel anything. Your memories felt like they belonged to someone else. The smiles around you looked staged. And in your chest, a quiet knowing. The world had changed. That's the beginning of the end. The moment when what was once familiar starts to rot from the inside. Relationships crack, dreams dissolve, faith gets blurry, and still, you show up, smile, and pretend, because that's what we were taught to do, to keep moving, even when everything inside screams stop. But the truth is, something did stop, not outside of you, inside. The clock still ticked, yes, but your time, the time for who you were meant to be, froze. They don't want you to see this, the ones who profit from your distraction, your silence, your disconnection. They engineered this collapse to look like progress, but it's not. The world didn't fall apart overnight. It decayed in silence. The end of everything didn't announce itself. It slipped into your morning coffee, into your news feed, into the long scroll of meaningless notifications. It lives in the look you give yourself in the mirror, the one that wonders where you went. And if you've made it this far into the video, maybe you've felt it too. That pressure behind your ribs, that whisper behind your thoughts, that something important has ended, and no one around you even blinked. So I have to ask you, have you ever felt like something inside you had already ended, long before you even realized it? Because that's where it all begins. Not in the loud moments, but in the quiet collapse. And now that you've seen it, really seen it, there's no going back. And then, you find it. Not in a museum, not on a headline, but in something forgotten. Something that was never meant to be uncovered. A letter buried in a drawer that should have been locked. An old journal with words underlined in trembling ink. A box of photographs with faces scratched out. Dates that don't make sense. And suddenly, your breath shortens. Not because you're in danger, but because something inside you has just confirmed what you've always feared. That your life, your story, was built around a lie. At first, you think maybe it's just one mistake, one misunderstanding. But the deeper you look, the more the threads begin to unravel. A strange signature, a recurring symbol, a date that doesn't match, a name that no one ever spoke, but somehow, you remember hearing in whispers. That's when the walls begin to crack. What was passed down to you wasn't a legacy. It was a cover-up. There's something chilling about realizing that your memories have been curated, that the version of your family you believed in was a carefully designed facade, that the arguments, the secrets, the silence, they weren't random. They were necessary in their eyes to protect a secret no one wanted you to see. This isn't just your story. It's a pattern, one that spans generations. A hidden truth tucked inside families all across the world. Stories of betrayal, of fathers who disappeared, of mothers who changed names, of children raised inside beliefs they were never meant to question. But once you open that door, you can't close it again. You start to see the signs everywhere. In conversations that don't line up. In the way someone flinches when you mention a name. In the silence that follows when you ask about that summer or that place. And you begin to realize the cost of silence. Families shattered, faith abandoned, identities rewritten to fit into palatable shapes. And all of it to protect a single truth so fragile, it had to be buried. But here's the twist. The very thing they tried to keep from you is the thing that could set you free. Because this isn't just about pain. It's about awakening, about finally understanding that your suffering wasn't meaningless, that your confusion wasn't insanity. It was the echo of a truth trying to reach you. And if you've ever felt that sudden wave of realization, that chill up your spine when a piece clicks into place, you're not alone. So, if this kind of truth gives you chills, if you feel it deep in your chest like it's calling out to you, type yes in the comments. Let the silence finally end. Right here. Now that you've seen the edges of the secret, you'll want to see what happens next. It doesn't happen in a flash of light. There's no dramatic thunder. The world doesn't pause to witness it. But inside you, something begins to shift. The moment after the truth breaks you, there's silence. And in that silence, something sacred begins to stir. You're no longer running. You're no longer searching for the lie. You're now walking toward the truth. And that's when you realize it was never just about uncovering secrets. It was always about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. Imagine light piercing through the thickest darkness. At first, just a crack, then a beam, then a flood. Not from above, but from within. It was always there, covered, silenced, shamed, but never gone. And in that light, something ancient wakes up. Not a version of you society approves of, but the one that was created with purpose, with fire, with divine intention. The pain, it becomes a doorway. The betrayal, a map. And suddenly you're not angry anymore. You're not numb. You're clear. You understand that what broke you shaped you. That every unanswered question was part of a conversation between your soul and something greater. And that something finally answers back. Not with words, but with presence. You don't just learn the truth. You meet God. Not in a church, not in a book. But in that stillness where you finally say, I can't do this alone. And instead of judgment, you feel arms around you. Instead of shame, you feel peace. Instead of silence, you feel seen. This is not religion. This is a spiritual awakening, where your soul remembers its voice, where your path becomes illuminated not by logic, but by love. It's not easy. The transformation hurts, but it's holy. Because it's the moment your pain finds purpose, when your darkness finds direction, and you find yourself praying, not to be saved from life, but to be strengthened for it. You look around and realize you're not alone. Others are walking the same road, and for the first time, you're not pretending, you're not performing. You're present, connected, real. You begin to speak differently, move differently, love differently, because something in you is awake now. You've tasted truth, and there's no going back. The world hasn't changed, but you have, and that changes everything. If you've ever felt this, even for a second, share your moment in the comments. When did it happen for you? When did the lie fall apart and the light come in? Because once the awakening begins, it doesn't stop. It expands. It calls others. It builds something bigger than a belief. It creates a mission, and you're already part of it. But before we finish, what comes next is something even deeper, and you won't want to miss what's waiting just ahead. And then, somewhere between silence and light, you understand. The end of everything wasn't the end at all. It was the moment you were finally invited to wake up, to see the world for what it really is, to stop surviving through masks and start living through truth. What once felt like collapse now reveals itself as rebirth. The pieces that shattered were never meant to last. They were illusions, shells, temporary versions of you built by fear, by expectation, by everything this world tried to convince you was real. But you were meant for more. The truth doesn't destroy you. It doesn't paralyze you. It sets you free. You begin to walk not in confusion but in clarity, not in performance but in presence. And when you see through the illusion, you begin to live differently. You speak differently. You choose differently. You're not who you were when you started this video, and that's the point, because this wasn't just a story. This wasn't entertainment. This was a revelation, a mirror, a calling. And you answered. You stayed. You listened. That already makes you different from the masses who scroll past anything real. But this truth doesn't want to stay on a screen. It wants to take root in your life, in your mornings, in your relationships, in your identity. Because this is not about believing in something external. This is about becoming who you were created to be, the version of you that lives in alignment with light, with purpose, with God. What just happened here is not small, it's spiritual, it's eternal. The end of the old was the birth of the real. The truth didn't come to comfort you, it came to awaken you. And you can either walk back into the illusion or step forward into the mission. But now you know, now you've seen it, and there's no turning back. You are being called, not to look spiritual, not to act awakened, but to live from the core of who you truly are, to stop bowing to fear and begin walking in faith. The people around you may not understand. That's okay. Most don't, but some do. And right now, they're watching too, because this is more than a video. This is a movement, a community, a shared awakening where we remember that we were never meant to sleepwalk through life. We were meant to live it, deeply, fiercely, truthfully. So if this touched something in you, don't just leave silently, leave a mark. Let us know you were here. Share this video with someone who's searching. Click like so the algorithm doesn't bury this truth. Subscribe so you don't walk this journey alone. And in the comments, tell us, what part woke something up in you? Was there a sentence that hit too deep? A moment that made you pause? Comment the words, "I'm awake," if this video brought something to life in you. Or "No more lies" if you're done with pretending. Let this space be proof that you were here, that you felt it, that you chose to wake up. And don't stop now. Because in the next video, they discovered this, and now it will destroy the game. We'll reveal how one discovery shattered everything for a group of people who thought they knew the truth, and how it might just change your life too. What we uncovered goes beyond what anyone expected, and it's only the beginning. Click on the video that appears next. Watch it. Let it open more doors. We're not here to fit in. We're here to break through. Together we'll keep finding the cracks in the illusion, the light behind the darkness, and the truth that sets us free. Because once you're awake, you can never go back to sleep.